Good morning, and welcome to the First Unitarian Church of Providence, where we love beyond belief. My name is Betty Finn, and I'll be your worship associate this morning. We are very pleased to have Lee Clasper-Torch as our guest minister today, and he will speak on the landscape of the soul. Lee has a master's in divinity and served on the faculty of Moses Brown School for 25 years, teaching courses in comparative religion, philosophy, and ethics. Most recently, he worked as the Men's Engagement Coordinator for the Rhode Island Coalition Against Domestic Violence and the 10 Men Project. He is a perennial student and a seeker, a social activist, nonviolence trainer. Lee does presentations, leads workshops, and teaches philosophy, spirituality, and meditation. We warmly welcome him to First U. Now please join me in centering ourselves and settling into this service with our chalice lighting.
My name is John Dooley, and this is my wife Nancy. For those of you at home, we'd like to invite you to light your chalice and join us in the words that we say every Sunday morning.
This light burns also in our hearts, and it lights our path towards harmony, justice, and hope for all.
If you have a hymnal handy, or if not, my handy assistant will show you the words.
Good morning. The reading this morning is taken from an excerpt of Ralph Waldo Emerson's essay entitled The Oversoul. Emerson's words might be heard as a work of art, something like poetry. Its virtue stands in the personal insights that he offers. Emerson wishes to exhort and direct the listener to awakening of similar thoughts or sentiments. We love in succession, in division, in parts, in particles. Meantime, within us is the soul of the whole, the wise silence, the universal beauty, to which every part and particle is equally related, the eternal one. And this deep power in which we exist, and whose beatitude is all accessible to us, is not only self-sufficing and perfect in every hour, but the act of seeing and the thing seen, the seer and the spectacle, the subject and the object are one. We see the world by piece, as the sun, the moon, the animal, the tree. But the whole of life, of which these are the shining parts, is the soul.
Good morning. I'm the Reverend Roger Peltier, Assistant Minister for Pastoral Care, and these are the joys and sorrows that connect us. This from Michael Capelli, a candle of sympathy and peace for my dear friend of 40 years, Ty Davis. Ty collapsed after a tennis match a few days ago, having suffered a ruptured cerebral hemorrhage. He was removed from life support and died a few hours ago in the company of his wife and children. Ty, you will be missed by everyone who was fortunate enough to know you. Rest in peace. A candle of healing for my 86-year-old mother-in-law, Bertha Rosenbaum. She went home from her month in the hospital, where she will continue her recuperation. So grateful for my sister-in-law, who is taking on the home caregiver role. A candle of thanksgiving and celebration. Fred Jodry, our music director of 20 years, is moving on at the end of this year. We are sorry to be losing him, but wish him the very, very best going forward. We will celebrate and thank him for all that he has given First U over these many years on his last Sunday with us, which will be May 23rd. Stay tuned for details. Friends, let us rest in the gladness that we have each other to share our joys and our sorrows. Indeed, it makes all the difference. Let's deepen into the hour by preparing our hearts and minds for meditation and prayer. I'm going to offer a few words followed by a time of silence. And if you at home have lost someone in the past year that you are remembering this morning, please stand or raise your hand to participate in silent tribute. The silence will end with a gentle chime. To begin, I invite you to settle into where you are, to feel your body sitting where it is, to relax, soften your gaze, and breathe with me. Take a deep breath. 1. And again. This is Mary Oliver's The Gift. Be still, my soul, and steadfast. Earth and heaven both are still watching, though time is draining from the clock, and your walk that was confident and quick has become slow. So be slow if you must, but let the heart play its true part. Love still as once you loved, deeply and without patience. Let God and the world know that you are grateful, that the gift has been given.
It's an honor and a joy to be asked back here to First UU to preach. And I'm deeply grateful for the invitation, so thanks to Neil Bartholomew for reaching out, for Betty Finn for her kind shepherding of the process, and to all of you, those orchestrating this virtual streaming today, and the whole First UU community for welcoming me here and into your homes to worship and reflect with you. Every morning for years, literally without exception, I walk outside the door of our house and slowly and attentively circle our home. I can actually mark this ritual from the time that I returned from a journey to India in the summer of 1995. I was on a Gandhian study travel seminar, then sponsored jointly by a North American organization called Nonviolent Alternatives and an Indian institute called Navadarshanam, which means New Vision. The trip for me was hugely significant and no less than a personal pilgrimage, for my life passions and studies and work were immersed in comparative religion, philosophy, and nonviolence. India was my Mecca. And it didn't disappoint. It was truly magical, both beautiful and severe, simultaneously inviting and heart-wrenching, with sights and smells, colors and sounds that I could barely have imagined. And along with the wall of heat that greeted me upon my arrival, there was what I can only call a palpable sense of spirit, of soul that permeated the air. It seemed like everything was swimming in sacredness. By contrast, our own culture felt and feels bereft of this dimension. Our hyper-secularity and materialism seems somehow thin and one-dimensional by comparison, whereas my experience of India was something like walking into a multi-dimensional reality, animated, vibrating, soulful. But just as it felt like a kindred connection for me in that sacred landscape, an insight occurred that I wasn't prepared for. And quite frankly, in retrospect, it seems almost cliche. As Dorothy in The Wizard of Oz exclaims breathlessly, "There is no place like home." I had the distinct awareness that the same life that permeates and animates all that I was experiencing in India is the very same essence that infuses life right here at home at 24 4th Street, Providence, Rhode Island. Upon return, I began the simple practice of walking around our small house, our small piece of land each morning, attentively, mindfully, opening myself as I could to the treasure that is hidden in plain sight in my own heart and vibrating in my own landscape. The experience was real and revelatory for me. As wonderful as my travels across the globe to India were, the realization struck that this self-same reality is available and accessible right where I live, both inwardly and outwardly. I returned home in more ways than one that summer. And it was then that I thought to ritualize the circling of my own humble piece of land, to give thanks and to see what I could see. As I saunter around my home landscape daily, I have also incorporated the practice of silently, internally reciting a poem of Ralph Waldo Emerson's. Never miss an opportunity of seeing anything that is beautiful. For beauty is God's handwriting, a wayside sacrament. See it in every fair face, in every fair sky, in every fair flower, and thank God for it as a cup of blessing. Without fail, I see each day something new, something small, something startling, something the same but imbued with a freshness that I had not noticed before. Everything is vibrating, and like the very air in India, it too holds a magic, a sacredness, a very present soul fullness. So the invitation that I share with each of us this morning is to gently reconsider this veritable landscape of the soul, to entertain the possibility, to seek to rediscover and nurture the very ground of being, both within and without. In rereading Emerson these past couple of months, this quintessential American man of letters, this most recognized and revered figure of the Unitarian movement, this pioneer of the philosophy of transcendentalism, I have been put back in touch not only with the power of his prose, but with the way soul speaks to soul, the way experience finds and confirms experience. We love in succession, writes Emerson, in division, in parts, in particles. Meantime, within us is the soul of the whole, the wise silence, the universal beauty, to which every part and particle is equally related, the eternal one. In his essay, The Oversoul, Emerson makes an experiential case for a transcendental and immanent reality, one in the same, one within which we exist, whether it be in India or in Providence, in the meeting house here, or where you are now, within your own hearts and homes. There are trees in Emerson's landscape. There are animals. There is the sun and the moon. But the very power that animates these particulars is also resonant within us as well. This power, he writes, whose beatitude is all accessible to us, and he says, this, the whole of life, of which these are shining parts, is the soul. This whole of life is the soul. How astounding! How inviting! Emerson stands in the stream of those seers and sages that exclaim a universal beauty, a ground of being that is as close as our own heartbeats, as natural as our breath, and as wise as silence. Jesus uttered famously and startlingly, "The realm of God is within you." Meister Eckhart, the medieval Christian mystic, wrote, "The eye with which I see God is the same with which God sees me. My eye and God's eye is one eye, and one sight, and one knowledge, and one love." Have we not all had, even in one fleeting moment, some slight hint of this oneness? Most of us, someone said, have had glimpses of what the saints have been blinded by. The inner and outer landscape that Emerson celebrates as the soul, it seems as if it is our very birthright. And yet, quite regularly, truth be told, it feels distant, clouded, or hidden. Part of this, it seems to me, has to do with the philosophical maps that we are given in our culture and society, through our education, through our largely materialist presuppositions, through our technological over-reliance, and our single-sightedness. We are something like a one-eyed giant, bumping into things, breaking things, unable to see peripherally, clearly, wide-lensed, multidimensionally. What if we were offered other maps and entertained the possibility of other landscapes and another way of seeing? What if we honored our experience? As William Blake, the English artist, poet, and mystic exclaimed, if the doors of perception were cleansed, everything would appear to us as it is, infinite. For we have closed ourselves up till we see all things through narrow chinks of our own cavern. Such narrow, myopic views have too often severely limited our sight and shackled our capacity to live fully, deeply, humanly. Thomas Moore, a psychotherapist and former monk who wrote the well-known book Care of the Soul, went so far as to suggest the great malady of the 20th and 21st century implicated in all of our troubles and affecting us individually and socially is loss of soul. When soul is neglected, it doesn't just go away, he writes. It appears symptomatically in obsessions, addictions, violence, and the loss of meaning. Both Unitarians and Quakers have long self-identified and been known historically as seekers. And Henry David Thoreau, that other great transcendentalist, was referred to as a surveyor of the soul. The landscape of the soul is surely worthy of surveying, rediscovering, tilling, and nurturing the ground of our being is a spiritual journey worth embarking upon. Many of you, I know, are already on this journey and have been seekers and surveyors of the soul. I dare say that your presence in virtual worship today is testament to this aspiration, at least. For this reason, I'm sharing with you these few reflections simply as a kind of cheerleader for the soul, as a fellow traveler. My experience has offered me humble clues, real but ineffable, deep but indescribable. These clues to the universal beauty and eternal one that Emerson evokes, the soul of the whole that he mines, are the self-same nuggets of gold that I have panned, or rather have been unexpectedly gifted by. I can say, along with the poet T.S. Eliot, as he wrote in the Four Quartets, these are only hints and guesses, hints followed by guesses, and the rest is prayer, observance, discipline, thought, and action. The hint half guessed, the gift half understood, is incarnation. So about this prayerful discipline stuff, this observant stuff, thought and action stuff that Eliot invokes, I will offer just a few guides or simple aids to clear away whatever may block our awareness of this ground of life and being. We might view these suggestions as soul-surveying tools. First, honor your experience and continue to cultivate your wonder. Abraham Joshua Heschel, Jewish rabbi and philosopher, wrote that awe is the beginning of wisdom. Often we treat as anomalies, don't we, those experiences of awe that we cannot categorize or simply cannot place in the small boxes that our conventional frameworks or our one-dimensional maps afford us. Nurture and cultivate that ground of experience, because as Emerson exclaims later in the same essay, only by the vision of that wisdom can the horoscope of the ages be read. by yielding to the spirit of that prophecy which is innate in every person, we can know what the soul says. Secondly, do take time to listen and to practice silence and quiet. This may include distinct times of meditation, but it is just as easily might involve allowing yourself to drink a cup of coffee or tea in the quiet and magic of the morning or at dusk, to sit or walk, and really just sit or just walk with no other distractions. Turn off or unplug from the TV, from the radio, from music even, from your computer screen from time to time. Such practice offers the space to cleanse the doors of perception and gain the inner clarity needed to be attentive to the soul, to the wise silence. Thirdly, slow down. As Thoreau opined, our life is frittered away by detail. Simplify, simplify, simplify. Even as the pandemic has created something of a forced Sabbath for many of us, it is nonetheless amazing, isn't it, how we can still fill our lives up to create undoable to-do lists. Be still and know, says the psalmist. In the Buddhist text, The Way of the Bodhisattva, Shantideva teaches the development of patience, what is translated as the austerity of patience. Cultivating the practice of patience, of stillness, of slowing down invites the soul to alight. Finally, seek to practice aligning your soul center with your actions in the world. Only by yielding to the spirit of prophecy, as Emerson writes, which is innate in each of us, can we tap into the energy of the highest law. What Gandhi, I think, termed satyagraha, or soul force. One, revolutionary, love. Exploring and rediscovering the landscape of the soul rather than an excuse for passivity, in the final analysis, is the foundation for genuine, non-attached action in our world. So may I invite all of us, then ever so gently yet persistently, to return to the landscape of our souls. As the words of the song chant that I regularly sing goes, return again to the land of your soul. Return to who you are. Return to what you are. Return to where you are born and reborn again. Amen.
Now is the time for the offertory, our contributions to the work of this church. We hope you will be as generous as you can be. You may donate by going to our website, firstunitarianprov.org, and clicking on the red donate button at the bottom of the first page. It's as simple as that. Thank you for your generosity and all that you do for our congregation and the wider community. have a few invitations for you this morning. The first is a question. If you had to sum up your experience at First U in a few sentences, what would you say? How has your association with First U affected you? What role does membership in this community play in your life? What does First U mean to you? As we think about our commitment drive theme, Go, Do, Be, transforming love into action together, we can reflect on what it means to bring our values to the church, the community, and the world. As you consider your financial pledge for the 2021-22 year, please consider how First U has helped you transform love into action and give as generously as you can. The second invitation is a spring cleaning of the soul, a presentation of story, song, and spoken word to refresh our spirits. It will be Sunday, March 21st at 4 p.m. This not-to-be-missed afternoon will feature stories from Len Cabral, spoken word from Reverend Roger and friends, music from members of the community band and Fred Jodry, along with some other variety presentations from our children. There is something for everyone. The Zoom link is in the Friday email this week and next.
Please join us for the words for extinguishing the chalice.
We carry the flames of peace, love, hope, until we meet again.